So some of you are interested in the work ethic aspect of making this series. In this last video on the behind the scenes process, I will give you insights as to what kept me going and what I learned about sticking with a project. Let's get into it. Before I go any further, I need to be very upfront about a particular factor that played into my schedule for Left 4 Dead: The Return. And please don't freak out when you hear this, but I made the entire thing while I was unemployed, so that really gave a big time boost for me. And you may be thinking, oh, unemployed because of the pandemic, right? No, just plain unemployed, of my own will. Without reading you a whole chapter of my life story, I got burnt out by work and life in general, and at the time, I just needed to step away from everything. I had saved up a decent amount of money in savings, so I could afford it. But just because you have time on your hands doesn't mean you'll always spend it the way you want to. I'm kind of reconfiguring that for myself as we speak. Time is the space in which we can create, but it takes things like persistence, discipline, and putting in the work to make our creations come to life. So obviously, the first important thing in making something like this series is time management. To use myself as an example, I knew I had a full day ahead of me every time I came to work on this project, and though I sometimes crunched into the weekends, I tried to keep work within Monday to Friday. So I'd board about 2.5 to 3 hours in the morning before lunch, and then after lunch, I just kept going till around 6. If there was extra work or I felt like I could do more, I'd try to finish up around 9. That worked for me at the time. But time management will look different for everyone depending on their schedules. Hell, even that old work routine doesn't quite do it for me anymore. So the first thing you need to do is look at the time you have available in a week for creating and plan how you'll use it. Another important tip is to assess your workload by each stage of production. The amount of hours and art you put into pre-production is going to look different than actual production, and some stages of production may take longer than you might first assume. For example, I gravely underestimated the length of time it would take to edit and render scenes and episodes in post-production. It led to some intense crunch times, and had I better anticipated this, the process could have gone a lot quicker and sooner. So the more you can crack down on your workload for each stage of production, the more sure you'll be in knowing what you're doing and how long it could take. It's also really important to take into account your current strengths and weaknesses as an artist, animator, writer, or video editor, because that will also affect how long a project might take you. If, for example, you have a hard time drawing out action scenes, you'll need to spend more time planning out the flow of events and blocking of characters. If you're really good at editing the final footage, indulge your instincts for more cinematic shots and well-placed music or sound effects. When you make something like the Left 4 Dead series, you're not only making it because you love it and you want to have fun, you're making it because you want to learn and improve even more. Or at least, that's how it was for me. It won't be that way for everyone. But taking advantage of a personal project like this can help skyrocket your skills and give you a better idea of how to improve in your craft. One of the biggest pieces of advice I cannot stress enough is to make sure you give yourself room for rest and breaks from your project. If you don't want to burn out or possibly hurt yourself, make sure you're giving yourself pockets of time to breathe, and stay in touch with life outside the project. Friends, family, exercise, hobbies, etc. I definitely flirted with burnout on the series, and having experienced burnout before, as well as physical injuries, I don't recommend it. Something that really helps in working with these kinds of projects is acceptance and persistence. This helps for all the setbacks and obstacles you will encounter. And you will encounter them, I can promise you that. If you lose a lot of work because a program crashes, or you're feeling shaky about your script, it can be very easy to lose hope and want to give up. But you have to accept that these things will happen. By accepting setbacks as a part of the creative process, you'll be able to pick yourself back up again and keep going. That's where the persistence comes in. Persistence is showing up every time you sit down to create and making consistent progress every time. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you are, if you've got all the skills or you're starting out as a beginner. If you keep choosing to work forward in a project, no matter how big or small it is, you will finish it eventually. Remembering that can help you go a long way. And honestly, the biggest tip I have to give is whatever project you want to work on, just do it. I know that's cliche and everyone says that, but it's true. If it's something you desperately want to see, whether it's a fan art concept or your own original concept, you have the power to make it happen. You have a unique perspective and skill set you can bring to the table that no one else can. And you can do it at whatever scale is manageable enough for you. If you want to make it, make it. There's no green light to wait for, and there's no guarantee that someone else is going to make the thing you want to see. So do it. Go make that project, and have some fun in the process. And with that, we've reached the end of the behind-the-scenes videos on Left 4 Dead: The Return. I hope you've enjoyed these videos and that they were informative and entertaining. I've certainly enjoyed taking some time to reflect on the story and the work that went into the biggest project I've made to date. And in reflecting, I hope the things I learned from making the Left 4 Dead series can help launch me into my own new works. And I hope they can help you too, if that's something you want to get into as well. That's all for now, and that's it for this series. Artsdiva, over and out.